Hey, welcome back to the JMFG podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Glenn. Hey, sorry for all you guys that's been watching the podcast, shooting me emails. I've been ripping and running, man. The summer's been busy so far. My daughter's graduated, my friends, cousins, everybody's been graduating, so I've been running back and forth from state to state, going to graduations. Just haven't had a lot of time to get in the studio. But hey, back in the studio now. We've been hit this summer hard and heavy. Got some great guests coming on board. Today's guest is a real good friend of mine, real true good friend of mine from New York. So she's in New York. I got to forgive her. She's just like, Louise Cantrell. They New Yorkers, they stick together. They're tough like that. But she got her second book out now. She's written one. She's published 2 books so far. And she's doing great things in New York. But with no further ado, I wish I could have had her help 5 years ago. But with no further ado, I'm going to let Miss Annie B introduce herself. Miss Annie B.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir.
Such a pleasure to be back.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Annie B. Johnson. I'm a licensed social worker in New York State. And I actually work with couples to fundamentally transform how men, women, and families connect and engage with each other.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. So, hey, y'all, check this out. I'm going to back this up. So, Annie and my boy DJ, that was on my 21st, I think, episode, 22nd. I can't remember the number. But DJ is actually Annie's husband. And so DJ came on first, and I was like, hey, we got to get Annie on. Now, Annie's here, but we're doing a part 2 to DJ, hopefully in August.
Yes.
But it's just great people, and just, the things you're doing, I think that it's just, people don't realize that you can have a marriage or you can have a roommate.
Right.
And I think by you, what made you want to go into this line of work?
So it's funny that my social work career kind of embodies what I'm experiencing in life.
Right.
So I started off in adoption, foster care and adoption.
Okay.
And I went to long-term care, working with senior citizens.
Okay.
And family was always at the cornerstone of everything that I found myself involved in.
Right.
But my first book came about pretty much because my marriage was horrible.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm just going, no sugarcoat. It was terrible.
Almost.
But what I did was pretty much started therapy as a result of the marriage being what it was. Mm-hmm. And to kind of go back just a little bit, our family was not functioning the way that it should.
Right.
So I decided it was like a calling. God was like, you got to leave your job.
Right.
And I was just like, wait, what? What do you mean? Like, I can't leave my job.
We
got bills. We got to keep everything moving. But it was a nagging feeling to leave my job.
Right.
So I finally took heed after 12 years working in long-term care. I put in my resignation. Everybody was stunned and shocked. I want to say including myself.
Right.
But I took a leap of faith, quit my job, thinking that the reason why I did it was to kind of support my children. They were in school, they were in activities. Gotcha. And, we were just a family on the go, long working hours, and the kids are here and there. And I was like, I need to kind of be a little bit more present with the kids. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was the intention.
Right.
Lo and behold, the intention for me leaving my job was God's way of saying, you got to get your family back in order.
Right.
So after staying home for a number of years, I started working on different projects, trying to get this book. The life management portfolio was supposed to be my first book. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I invested like 11 years into trying to get it off the ground. But when I got our pattern kind of got interrupted with God's call to say, no, get your family in order first. So once I started doing like contract work with healthcare management and all of that stuff, then I ended up stopped doing everything, and the marriage fell apart. April 2015, I said to my husband, that's it, I want a divorce. Wow. We're not doing this anymore.
So you said it to DJ then?
Yeah, I did.
Usually in everything I've noticed, it's usually the man that usually says it. Because I said it to Sadian. I eat those words every day. I wish I would have never said that, because I kind of wish that I just wouldn't have, because we're, as men, I kind of almost felt like a failure, because it was like, I'm getting ready to get out of the military.
Yeah.
Everything was coming down on me. And I was like, hey, you know what? I want a divorce. I can't live like this.
Yeah.
And it was fear. It was more fear than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had gotten to a point to where I just couldn't take the level of dysfunction anymore. Like,
Right.
it was just too toxic. It was just too much always going on. And there was no peace. There was no peace in the house, which meant there was no peace for my children.
Right.
So it was either I'm going to make a decision to save myself and my kids, or we're going to continue to stay in the dysfunction. And I made a decision to no longer stay in the dysfunction.
Right.
So it was that catalyst that said, that's it, I can't take it anymore. And mind you, I was in therapy for a year prior to that decision.
Okay.
No, sorry, I wasn't. Once I said that in April 2015, I started therapy in October of the same year.
Gotcha.
But I had already said that I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, you can have whatever it is that we have accumulated, you can have all of it.
Right.
I'm just going to walk away with my kids.
Gotcha.
And that was just really it.
Okay.
And DJ is such a phenomenal person that he took that information and was just like, whatever it takes.
That's awesome.
I'm going to save my family. I'm going to get my family back. I will not let my family walk away. But I didn't know that at the time. So I started to kind of go into therapy in October of that year, 2015. And from there, I started working on myself first.
Right.
So we couldn't really separate at the time. The kids were going back to school. That always happens. Like, whenever we make a decision to like not be together, the kids are going back to school.
So something's keeping you tight.
Something always keeps us back together.
Which is good too. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I started working on myself first, which was very important. And then he started to kind of just come along for the journey. You know, I was going to take my kids to Turks and Caicos because I had a trip already planned with one of my girlfriends. And the trip fell apart with her. And I decided that if I can get on this plane and take my kids to Turks and Caicos, that's it. And he kind of knew that. Like, if she gets on this plane and she does this by herself, if she knows she can do that, that's it. It's over. So this is a guy who rarely takes vacations.
Yep.
I mean, he works and takes care of his family. But he put in for vacation. He hounded everybody.
My man, DJ, my man.
Yeah, so in law enforcement, you know, you have these picks. You have certain time to pick a certain amount of days. And then they have to kind of coordinate with other officers who wants this time off. But he said, come hell or high water, I need this time off. I need this time off. If I can get this time off, then y'all can have this job.
Yeah, that's
and they gave him the time off. He went to the trip with us. And that's when we started to rebuild.
Now, see, I ain't gonna stop right there. I'm no marriage counselor, but this is me. If I was a counselor right now, him making that leap of something that he never does, taking him out of his comfort zone and saying, I'm going on vacation, to me, if I was in your shoes, that would have been enough right there for me to say, okay, he still got something invested here. Something here will keep him here. You know, like he wants to be here. So shout out to my boy DJ. You know I love you to death, bro. I'm your biggest fan. So to me, I think that was awesome of him taking that step. And the reason why I say that is because when I was told I was retiring, or when I decided to retire the military, I think it was the same with Sadie. Sadie knew that, hey, him getting out of the military, in her eyes, she told me this later, I thought we were going to be traveling. I thought we were going to be going on vacations. You're out of the military. You're not in Special Forces anymore. You're not going all the time. We can be a family. We can be a husband and wife. Yeah. Well, in my eyes, I felt like I was letting my guys down. Because I've been with these guys, 2 decades, 20 plus years. Yeah. So I'm not there for Rusty. I'm not there for Stacy. I'm not there for Alan. I'm not there for the Manny. I'm not there for Dick. I'm not there for Mike. I'm not there for Will. I'm not there for these guys. So I felt like I was letting them down on the same token. So in my eyes, I was angry at her for wanting this for me. Because in my eyes, I'm like, why would you want me to retire when I still got these guys over here that I care about? I got to take care of these guys. Right. And in her eyes, it was like, well, what about me? What about us? Right. Exactly. In my eyes, I felt like I was taking care of them because the lights were on. There was food in the house. You got a car, Yeah. And there's two different ways of looking at being taken care of. Yes. Her definition of taking care of was, I made this sacrifice for 20 years for you. Yeah. Now you can't sacrifice this a little bit for us. You're upset. And I was just like, oh my. So I was fighting me
Yeah.
When I shouldn't even been fighting me. I should have been like...
Protect and provide.
Oh,
That's what men know. Protect and provide. But there's so much more that goes into your position in the family than just protect and provide.
It does.
Especially what she probably felt. Like, what about me? What about our family? Like, you put other people...
she did.
You put other people above that.
She felt like I put the job above her, which I didn't. In my eyes, I looked at that job as being, this is our foundation. This is what keeps the lights on. This is what does this. And it wasn't a job. It was a way of life for us.
Yeah.
You know, so being with those guys is just like, you know, that was my family. And this is my family too, granted, but that was also my family. And for my family back here, it was like, all right, you taking care of this. Okay, so what? The tire blew out. Get a new tire, baby. Washington, I'm calling loads for you. Yeah. But if one of those guys gets shot and killed, they're not coming back home anymore. Right. So that's like it's just, that's a whole nother...
That's a whole nother situation in terms of the dynamics that you deal with outside of the home. And then the position in terms of being in the military and how that camaraderie and teamwork plays in terms of life and death, really.
And then you're just going to walk away from that. It just doesn't... It didn't gel. And I'm just saying from me being a man and seeing where he said, I'm taking a vacation. That is awesome. Just like me, we didn't take a lot of vacation. We would just go away on the weekends. But to me, that was a damn vacation. We ain't at home. I ain't in my bed. I ain't messing in the yard. I ain't in the garage. You know, I ain't going shooting on the weekends. This is a vacation, even if it's only 2 days, you know. Yeah. But she didn't look at it like, that's not a vacation. We just went to D.C.
Yeah, that's like us when we come to North Carolina. That was our vacation. That was it.
That's a vacation, though. I mean, in our eyes, but not in you guys' eyes. You're like, I'm visiting family. This ain't a vacation.
Yeah, we visited family. That's what we do. So it's just a matter of, but I can understand that being challenging in terms of having to be able to work with your team and also try to be there emotionally for your family.
And it was hard. Yeah. So for DJ to say that, like, right then, I wish I was man enough or more aware enough to say, hey guys, I love you guys, but Sadie and the kids need me now. Yeah. Like, I'm retiring. Instead of getting mad, you know, but that's all I've known since I was 18, 19 years old. Yeah. So.
And I think that's indicative of marriage in general, like in terms of what we learn, how we learn to do marriage, you know, may not necessarily be beneficial because the way I learned how to do marriage was absolutely not beneficial for my marriage. Gotcha. I mean, it was beyond ridiculous in terms of what was going on in my parents' marriage. Right. But that's what I was seeped in. That was my environment. That's what I learned. You have to, you know, it's more roommates than it is anything else. There's no emotions that's involved in it. There's no engaging. There's no connection. It's just like we work, we pay the bills, we take care of the kids. You're going to drop this person off for football. You're going to take this one to music lessons. And it was that was our routine. It was a routine life, something that you and I just was talking about earlier. Yep. It was just the pattern that we were in, but I needed more. I wanted more from him emotionally, mentally. I needed to feel like I was in partnership. Right. Not that I was in this by myself, because it often felt like I was by myself.
Okay. And that's basically what brought up the book.
Yeah. So the book, Giving My Pain a Voice, A Path to Healing, was really cathartic because it was my journal in therapy. It started off as a journal in therapy. And he was just like, my therapist says, I want you to start journaling and get writing everything and getting everything out. And I was like, okay. So I started doing that. He was like, you know, this is going to be published, right? And I was just like, no, that's not what we're doing. I'm not publishing anything.
So everybody, here's the book. I ain't gonna cut you off. Here's the book. Okay. Giving My Pain a Voice. So hey, if you guys haven't read it, give it a reading. I started trying to read it. She ain't put no pictures in it, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to put it down. But no, I'm gonna read it. Shush, I'm gonna read it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But it started off as a journal for therapy. And then my therapist was like, you know, whatever God gives you, you have to share it now with other people because your testimony would be able to now help someone else save their marriage. And I was like, no, you're crazy. I'm not doing that. I am not about to open up my life and expose it to the world. I'm not doing that. But I did. And it has actually... This was a book that kind of took me in a totally different career path because I had no intentions on doing therapy. I had no intention on being a marriage counselor. None of that.
That's awesome.
There was no intention. And now that I feel is my greatest work and it's my greatest passion and it's something that I really live for because I do not want to see anyone feel like they're living with a roommate as opposed to really living with their spouse and being emotionally connected to the person that they're sharing space with, and also raising children, because whatever it is that you do in the home, the children are absorbing, whether we think we hiding it from our kids or not. They're still absorbing a lot of the things that are going on in the family.
And that makes them a product of what they're seeing too.
Absolutely.
Because I even told Sadie when we were like to the point where we felt like we were divorced, first thing I thought about was my parents, because they had passed away and they didn't know. My dad kind of knew before he passed away.
Yeah.
But I was telling her, like, I don't want to be a failure to my parents, to myself, to you, or to our kids. And I told her before we got a divorce, we're not just divorcing each other, we're divorcing our kids too.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, our kids saw that. And I tell my kids all the time, don't judge what me and your mom done in your life. Because I look at our country now, divorce is so easy now.
Very easy.
It used to be like, you didn't get divorced through hell or high waters, you get divorced.
Yeah.
But now, it's like, all right, go get a divorce. And I told Sadie, our kids see us get a divorce. When it comes time to them, when they're married, they turn in one little problem. I don't want them to say, well, my parents got divorced. Because I've heard people say that before.
Yeah.
Well, my parents got divorced. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not why you went in partnership with the person that you married.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, I just feel like what you're saying right now, and in your book, as you was describing it to me, that had to be brave of you just to say, I'm opening up my life, as you just said, to the world.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard because you don't want to be that vulnerable.
Right.
You know, in a lot of marriage and relationships, no one likes to be that vulnerable. And that's part of the problem when there's a lack of vulnerability. But when you open up your heart and open up your mind and open up yourself to wanting to be helpful to other people, I have to be vulnerable.
Right.
And that was something that I had to kind of deal with, in a sense, because, you know, what if you're going to get judged? What if people are going to say about you? People are going to think you're dumb because you decided to stay in the marriage. You know, so I felt like I was going to get that ridicule, but it was so much bigger. It sounds cliche, but it really was, because this, I feel, is my biggest calling.
Yeah.
And for it to come the way that it did, I'm surprised at it, because that's not the direction that I was going. I was going in this direction. The second book, that was my direction, but God said, no, we're going to go in a different direction. And because of that shift, DJ and I are working with other couples. Like, he becomes like a male mentor to other guys.
That's awesome.
That I'm working with as well. Because, you know, men and women, we talk very different languages.
Oh yeah, that's a fact.
And he's able to provide what it really takes for a man to kind of not just think about a marriage as, I'm here to protect and provide. There's an emotional investment that you have to make, and not just for your spouse, but also for your children too.
And see, that's where I think the male's biggest problem is that emotional piece.
Yeah.
You know, just like Sadie used to always tell me, you have no empathy. I was like, I'm one of the most empathetic person in the world. Just because I'm not running in there like, oh my God, you got a cut finger. Yeah. I'm like, hey, suck it up, baby girl, you can be all right.
Yeah.
You mean, because we want our kids, or at least I do, I want my kids to be tough. I want them to know that you're Glenn. You know, and you met my kids. You see how Lauren is. Like, it ain't nothing I feel like my kids can't do. Right. But they were brought up like that because I was raised like that. And I'm not saying my parents was wrong, but I felt like they did a real good job in raising me. You know, like, hey, you know right from wrong. You treat people how you want to be treated. But at the end of the day, it's like you say, I wish, and I do that now because as I've gotten older, I realize that emotional piece has to be there. Yeah, the emotional piece is essential to the health of your family, because when you're void of the emotions, then the family's not really being fed. Right. Because if it's just like go, work, and we're passing two ships in the night all the time, there is no connection. Right. So what I was looking for from DJ is, hello, do you see me here? Yeah. Like, am I important to you? Right. Do you understand what I need from you? So we start with the basics of, what do I need from him? Right. And what does he need from me? And a lot of couples are not even having that conversation. Like, what is it that what are my emotional needs? So I have to be able to identify my emotional needs in order for you to know how to meet the emotional needs. Right. And then vice versa. And vice versa. Yeah. But a lot of people don't take the time to identify what are your emotional needs. So you want him to do all of these things for you, but
But then when he doesn't do it, it's like, oh, well, I don't like how he did X, Y, and Z. But what is it that you need from him then?
Right.
So I need you to be able to communicate. And how you communicate, everybody says, oh, communication is the key to a healthy relationship. Yeah, it is. But how we communicate.
Yeah, how you communicate.
So if you're saying like, no, I want my kids to be tough and I want them to, and then your spouse is probably saying, oh, but babe, I kind of need them to be a little understanding.
Yeah.
Where's the compassion? Where's the understanding? And sometimes you don't want to keep pushing. So sometimes we're talking two different languages.
Right.
One thing, how we define love is important.
Yep.
Because love gets defined. Love for me was defined. I mean, it was horrible in terms of how my parents loved each other. But I absorbed what that meant,
right.
The definition of that, because that's how I saw what love actually looked like.
But everybody loves differently too.
Everyone loves differently.
So there's no...
Absolutely.
Because you would think my mom and dad hated each other.
Right.
Because they would argue, but they loved each other more than anything.
Yes.
And I just love to watch, like he would tap on the butt when he come in the kitchen. And she'd throw something at him. I'm like, why would he do that when he knows she's going to throw something at him? But that was his way of, I guess, telling her like,
yeah,
hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I see you.
Yes.
Or whatever, so
yeah.
It's just different types of love.
It's different. And then when you put voice to it, that's why I was giving my pain a voice. When you put voice to those things, like, hey babe, how do you define love? What does that look like? What does it look like when it shows up?
Right.
How does it feel? Mm-hmm. So when we're not having those conversations, and the way he was loving me, it was just like, no, that's not what I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do that harsh, tough,
Yeah.
That didn't work for me.
Gotcha.
And it didn't work for the kids.
Gotcha.
So we had to kind of shift and do something a little different. But therapy is just really looking within yourselves. We think that we're coming for couples therapy.
Right.
But it's really working within yourself. So it's like an inside out paradigm. You work within yourself first.
And then you just compromise with yourself.
Yeah, and then when you start thinking about what is it that I like? What is it that I like to do? What makes me feel good? What kind of partner am I looking for? What do I want him to do for me? Or what do I need from him? Let me check my own emotional needs first. Because sometimes we come in there with our own baggage into a marriage, and then we end up blaming our spouse for everything that happened that has nothing to do with that spouse, because it's something from our past. It's something that we've experienced maybe in other relationships, or what we grew up believing.
Childhood.
Yeah, and then what you believe. Sometimes in your home, you believe certain things, like when you have the whole roommate thing, like, oh, my mother lives in this room and my father lives in that room, and it becomes part of the norm.
And that's not a marriage.
Right. And then that doesn't become a marriage, because then you create in distance, you create in separation, and now you're raising children who believe, because whether they say it or not, it becomes a set belief. Right. That, oh, this is what the marriage looks like. And you go to other people's house, like, wait, your parents sleep in the same room? Yeah. It's like, yeah.
They're weird.
What do you mean? Exactly.
See, me, I'm simple. I just like to hang upside down and clean my gum before my nose start to bleed. No, I was joking. That's not the movie Major Pain. I was thinking about it. See your lights. But yeah, no, it's like, I don't know. Now that I'm divorced, I see it now. Yeah. I see a lot of what you're saying now. That's why I'm going to read the book. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of, the things that Sadie was telling me. I see a lot of things I did wrong. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of things I felt like she did wrong. Mm-hmm. But then on the same token, it's like we never understood, like, what was her love and what was my love. Yes. Like, I'm totally different. Like, I like to go. Yeah. Whereas Sadie, Saturday morning, I remember I'd wake up, cut the grass, wash the cars, vacuum the cars, edge the yard, fix breakfast. And she's just getting out of bed. I'm like, good Lord, you slept half of the day away. But she needed that. Like, that's what she needed on Saturdays to decompress from her job. Whereas I'm like, hey, let's go do something. Let's get the kids. Let's go to the lake. Let's go somewhere. Yeah. And I was more like, let's go outdoors. I didn't want to be confined and let's go to the movies or let's go do this. And she wanted to do more things like, let's go hang out with the family. Let's do stuff with the kids. And I'd be like, man, I don't want to go. But I would still go. Yeah. And then I think a lot of times, though, I would ruin that for her because she could tell I didn't want to be there. Instead of enjoying that moment for her, it was more like, man, I do not want to be here. Yeah. My mind's in the garage. I could be working on a gun. Right. I could be fixing my truck. I could be doing everything other than being at the North Carolina Fair. I could be anywhere else than here.
Yeah. So you weren't present at that time.
I wasn't present.
Yeah.
Wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when I wanted to go do something I wanted to do, she wasn't present, and I could sense that. And then as soon as we get in the car, that would start an argument because I'm at a place where I think we should be having a blast. Just
Yeah.
like she thought we should be having a blast. And then we're in the car driving home and we would argue about the stupidest things.
Yeah, you gotta engage in each other's happiness. You know, the things that make you happy individually. Gotta be able to engage in those things too. You know?
That's why I love the saying people always say opposites attract.
Yes.
I do believe that.
Yes.
Because if it's something I've never done before, I'm more intrigued by it. But if it's something I've done, I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Not another play.
Yes.
Not another, oh my God, not another zoo trip. I mean, damn animals are asleep anyways. What the hell are we doing here?
Yeah. Like,
You know, I just spent $26 per person and the damn zebras out there sleeping. You know? It's like, but I think with the whole opposite attracts thing. I think that,
like DJ likes museums. And I mean, I'll go. I don't really enjoy it, but I will go and I'll engage and, you know, talk, and we'll talk about whatever it is that we're looking at. And, you know, but I get to indulge in the things that he enjoys. And I get to participate in them regardless of whether I like it or not. That's something that he enjoys doing. So if my partner enjoys it, then guess what? I'm going to jump into his world because it makes that, whatever that world is at the museum makes him happy, then I'm going to join in his happiness with him.
That makes sense.
Yeah, instead of saying, well, I'm not going, I don't feel like going, that's not my interest, go by yourself. There's your division.
And that's where, my personal opinion, you said division, so we're going to talk about long division. It's just like long division. You put the number here, you bring it down. I feel like with marriages nowadays, that's why there's so much infidelity in marriages now, because we're so divided. And then you got social media, wherever my phone is. Yeah. Social media, you got all these different porno websites. You got so many things are out there for women and men where it's like, okay, you don't want to spend time with me? Okay, no problem. Because, and this is to all the guys out there, if you don't want to spend time with your wife or do things that she needs you to do, she will find it somewhere, I promise you.
Then you start going externally.
And the same with the women. Then they start going externally outside the marriage. And then before you know it, they're getting that little bit of attention that they needed. And now trying to go to counseling or something, to me, that makes it harder. Just like my marriage. I feel like the outside intricacies in our marriage was just tore our marriage apart. Like, and I even yelled at Sadie one time, I didn't marry your mom, I didn't marry your sister. I don't care what they think, I married you. And that hurt her, but I was just being honest. Yeah. Because I don't need you running to them for every little thing that we got an argument about, or if I bought you a car and didn't tell you, you mad about it. Right. Why are you listening to them? Just drive the car, we'll take it back. Yeah. You know, so just little things like that. It's just, you know, you run into those things.
Yeah, well, anytime you go outside of the marriage, tends to be some void, something that you're trying to fill. Right. And most times some people may not necessarily know what those things are because it's something subconscious. Right. It's something that, it's like a record that runs in the back of your mind that you don't even know that's playing.
But it's there.
But it's still there. Yep. And it's still playing the same old pattern, the same old song over and over and over, but you don't realize that it's causing you to operate a certain way, it's causing you to behave a certain way. And then you start seeking things outside of your marriage because you're trying to fill a void. Well, if I'm not getting this at home, I'm going to go somewhere else and get it. But once you start tapping into yourself and going deeper within to try to identify what are those voids, what are the things that keep you running and running and running, where are those things coming from?
Cocaine. No, I'm just keeps me going. I'm telling you. Yes. All right, let's go get it.
That becomes a problem.
Ooh, I know, I'm on it. Let's go. Keep going.
Yes. Yeah. But, you know, those things, we all have these insecurities that kind of drive us in one way or form or fashion. Right. But we're not communicating because we don't want to be vulnerable with our spouse about what those insecurities are. Right. And then we may not even be aware of what those voids and insecurities are because we're not having conversations about them.
So we just keep them suppressed.
And you keep them suppressed. And you stay in that pattern.
And the record's still playing.
And the record is still playing. And you're still operating based on that. Whatever that record, whatever that pattern is going, that's how you're operating. Until therapy interrupts the pattern. Okay. Where you start asking questions like, well, why are you doing that? Well, where do you think this is coming from? And what do you think? Well, tell me about your childhood. What was that like? How was love even defined? What did it even look like? You know, oh yeah, well my, parents were always yelling and screaming and doing all. And so, do you see any similarities in your marriage now? Because chances are you're going to see some similarities.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Chances are you're going to see your spouse as one of your parents.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's a great possibility.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we, so now my focus is reunifying the family. Right. And rebuilding a new foundation. Because I feel like what we talked about before in terms of how the dysfunction of families and how do we now work on pulling it back together so that families could be bigger and stronger together, and not so much being quick to divide and separate and divorce and all that. Staying together it takes some work.
It's work. Together. It's work. But I will tell all my viewers, all my listeners, if you're in a situation where you sleep in the opposite rooms or whatever, not because he snores, but for whatever reason may be, I'm divorced now, 4 years, 5 years, or whatever it is. I will tell you right now, if you can make it work, make it work.
Yeah.
I think that, and I get mad at myself sometimes, and I hope Sadie sees this, but I don't feel like we ever went to that hard truth of, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we going our separate ways?
Yeah.
And it's like, now you'll never know the unknown.
Yeah.
But what I try to tell all my friends, I got a buddy right now, I won't call his name, but we just talked last week, and him and his wife are going through some things, and they're going to get divorced.
Sorry.
And I told him, actually, I want to put you in touch with him. And I told him, I said, hey, man, if you can make it work, make it work. He's like, no, John, I think it's too far gone. I said, no, dude, ain't never too far gone.
Yeah.
I said, you just got to figure out, like you said, and he's an SF guy. So to all my SF brethren out there, all my soft brethren, Marines, Navy, whatever, that whole thing you was just talking about when you was saying that same record playing.
Yes.
I was sitting there thinking about, for all my SF guys or all my soft guys, y'all relate to this. That record for us, it's on a 2 to 4 month loop. Because we know after 2 to 4 months we're gone. So all we got to do is just look at her like this, give her space for 2 to 4 months, and we're gone. And when we come back that first week or two, it's good. We're back, it's fresh, it's new. After about the month of being home, picking up the kids, cutting the grass, truck breaking, car breaking, dryer breaking, now we're back into that, like we're mad at the world, get me deployed.
Yeah.
And it's 2 to 4 months, and we deal with that.
And it becomes easier to separate.
And it becomes easier for us to deploy, and it becomes easier for us to separate. So for all my soft guys that are watching this, look, guys, Annie B. Johnson, get in touch with her. If you can't get in touch with her, call me, get some counseling set up. It doesn't make you soft, because I think that's our biggest, that's our biggest stigmatism right there. Is I know guys right now, man, I don't suffer from PTSD. Dude, you did 20-something years in the military. You suffer from PTSD just getting up doing PT and drinking. Trust me, you do. So at the end of the day, you're not weak if you're trying to save the people that love you and care about you.
Right.
You're trying to save your marriage. So if anything, seek Miss Annie B. Johnson. Call me. I will give you her number. Get in touch with her. Get on her schedule. Learn how to break that loop. Because that's all I'm thinking about now.
Yeah.
Is when me and Tay will argue, all I'd be saying to myself is like, God, I can't wait to deploy. God, I can't. That's what I'd be saying. I can't wait to freaking. I'd be saying the F word. Can't wait to effing deploy. I can't wait to effing deploy. Get me out of here. Because now I know I'm around like-minded guys. We think the same way, and everything with us is a competition. So now we're competing day in and day out. Whether who sleeps the most, who runs the most, who can lift the most. So that keeps us going. It's always a competition. But then we come back home. Now that loop starts playing. It's like, God, man, I just wanted to play. And then we go to our team functions or we go to military functions. Wives are walking in holding hands. And you know you're in the same boat that he's in. You know they were arguing before they even got to the place. You know, but now they put it on that front when you know, like, hey, dude, your marriage is broken. Don't put it on the front. Go get it fixed.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Go get it fixed. Because at the end of the day, I can tell you right now, sitting here, the people that care about you are the people that you're sitting there arguing with every day.
And you can't fix it unless you're willing to face it.
Right.
And the same thing you speak about in terms of the truth. A lot of couples don't want to tell each other the truth.
They don't.
And that's part of the problem. Is that you have to be able to feel safe enough to express the truth.
And accept it.
I mean, but it may take a little time to accept it because, you know, I may speak the truth and you may not necessarily agree with it. But it's not for you to agree with. It's just for you to hear. And understand and have compassion for how I feel. And that's just pretty much it, because we all gonna feel something different. But at least be able to express how I feel and be met with some compassion and understanding. Because sometimes I can say, well, I don't like how you do X, Y, and Z. Well, what do you mean? And then it becomes a reaction.
That's me.
You know, it becomes a reaction, and now you become afraid of what the person's reaction is going to be. That's why you avoid telling the truth.
Because you know they're going to go on the defensive side too.
You go into the defensive mode.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, it's not about you. Stop being defensive. Hear what I have to say.
Right.
And most times people don't want to take the time to at least just hear what I have to say. Because we have our own operating, that thing that runs in the back that says, no, this person's out to get me. She's trying to take me down. And it's like this whole narrative that gets created on who this enemy now is.
And it's not an enemy.
And it's not an enemy. But for some reason, that record, that unconscious record, is telling you that this person is out to get you.
I need to deploy.
Yeah, this person's out to get me, and I need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible. Deploy me.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Send me right now. Yeah.
But guess what? You come back.
Yeah.
You come back, and the same pattern starts to loop again.
It does.
And then what happens? You get deployed. You go. So no one's facing what's happening.
And what's crazy is, funny you say that, because it's funny how all my buddies, not all, most of my buddies, we're all getting divorced after 15, 20 years of marriage. 20 plus years of marriage. Because now, that loop, there's no breaking that loop now. Because you're not deploying anymore. You're retired. You're done.
And you don't have the distraction of the kids because they're off to college.
They're off to college. Oh, yeah. So that house is empty. It's just you and her.
Empty nesters.
You can't deploy. You don't have nowhere to go.
Yes.
So guys turn to booze, opiates, drugs, whole 9 yards. Wives do the same thing.
Yeah.
Now those external factors are allowed to enter the marriage.
Yes. You're suppressing everything and don't want to face anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, so for all my guys that are watching this, and girls, I ain't gonna say not girls, but for all my soft guys, you know Johnny Glenn, I'm hard as woodpecker lips. But I'll tell you right now.
What?
I'm hard as woodpecker lips. That's pretty hard. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I've gotten soft now. But I will say this, all jokes aside, my guys know how I am. But at the end of the day, hey, go get the book if nothing else. Read this. It's called Giving My Pain a Voice by Miss Annie B. Johnson. If you read this, just listen to what you're saying. I have read a couple pages. I haven't read all of it. I'll be honest, I haven't read all of it. But just reading this, I'm amazed at how you open up your family in this book, the parts that I was reading. Like, that's pretty... And for SF guys, I'm not going to say we're secretive, even though we are. We don't want to let that guard down. We don't want to show that weakness, that softness.
Yeah.
You know, so I would tell guys, if nothing else, read the book. And it's still going to be hard for us to interpret or let our guards down so people can see, oh my God, Johnny Glenn's got a weakness. Oh my God, he loves chocolate. Like, my guys know my weaknesses. Yeah. So he loves Laffy Taffy. Like, you put candy in front of me, I gotta have it. So my guys know my weaknesses. But I think reading this book, guys, if nothing else, is gonna open your eyes to see that, one, you're not alone. And then two, hopefully you guys can go into, if you guys start to get counseling or you just decide to get counseling, I think you can go into it with an open mind, because SF guys, we're problem solvers. So if we go into this as a mission, if you go into your marriage as a mission, what's my problem solve? Then guess what? Your wife is a mission. Your kids are the mission. How do I solve that? Now you come up with that 5-paragraph op order. You brief yourself on that, and then you just run it to the T. And if I feel like if I can go back in time, I would treat my family and my ex as a mission. Because I know I'm going to devote everything to that mission. And all my guys know we don't fail. So now if you devote everything to that mission, you become that ear to her. You listen to her. And now you figure out ways, okay, how do I be, as you say, passionate to her? How do I understand what she's asking? Instead of, oh, I can go fix this. Because that's what we do.
It becomes a decision. You know, everything in life is a decision.
That's a fact.
So DJ made a decision that I'm not going to let anyone else have my family.
That's awesome.
That was his decision. And he still lives that decision to this day, to where I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that my family is healthy, not just safe, but make sure that we are emotionally healthy.
That's awesome.
So in the book, it's a lot about my interpretation. It's my interpretation in terms of what my marriage was like. So his voice is not heard necessarily in this book, but the work that he has done after the publishing of this book, it was challenging for both of us once the book was published. But the level of work that he has done and the level of commitment that he has to other men, in terms of the ones that are struggling in relationships and struggling in marriage, especially law enforcement. He knows the dynamics of all of that comes into play when it comes to law enforcement. So I think that God has brought us, this is really the reason why I believe God has saved our marriage and saved our family, is because we are assigned to help other marriages survive.
Right.
We are able to share our testimony. We're able to open up our lives and be transparent in what it really takes to save your marriage and save your family. Because once you save the marriage, you're able to save the kids.
Right.
So we pretty much open up our lives and our hearts to be able to be a testimony to a lot of families in terms of what does it really take, so that you don't just say, you know what, the heck with this, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this anymore. But what does it really take to say, okay, babe, you know what, let's try. Let's see what we can do to make it work. So that's really what it's all about, is just kind of bringing the families back together. But he made a decision. I made a decision like, nah, I'm done. But he was like, no, this is not how it's going to end. And he bust his butt trying to work hard to pull us back together. And it's really because of not just hearing his words, like, oh, I love you, I'm going to make it work, he put the action, he executed, he put the effort, the behavior, the therapy, he did everything that was required in order for me to say, you know what, this is worth investing in. This is worth not saying that I'm going to get a divorce. I'm going to go ahead and ride this out. And that's pretty much what we did. We just kind of wrote it out. It was tough on the family, but we're here now.
I like it.
And you see how we're together when we are together.
Oh yeah. And it's fun to be honest, this is my opinion. For guys that are married out there, when you go out, people that have got their investments in their families in the right order, it's fun to watch you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. It's just fun to watch them. Like, he kind of knows what she's thinking. She kind of knows what he's thinking. And then they're like coming together. Like, I was watching you guys answer each other questions. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Man, that's pretty cool right there, you know?
Yeah.
But, and it wasn't anger. It's fun, you know?
Right.
I think that's good stuff. That's just... So I'm definitely going to, me personally, I want to reach out. I'm going to reach out to some guys I know in third group. Actually, I'm going to start with the commander. And be like, hey, sir, I got somebody that can come in and actually help guys. At the end of the day, because my third group brother out there, we're only as strong as the woman beside us and the kids that are around us.
Yeah, because I'm his rib, you know.
Oh, that's it. And that's true. I believe that, you know. I just believe that, you know. And so, plus, I don't want to see none of my brother and go through what I went through. Dude, you think divorce is easy, but it's not. One, you're probably going to pay a lot of money. Then two, your water's going to get cut off. Your light's going to get cut off because we don't know what to pay. I remember walking to my house, it just be dark. I'm just hitting switch. I'm like... I would say I must flip the breaker. I'm over the breaker box with my light. I'm like, why the hell ain't the lights on? You know, and I look around, the lights must be out. You look at it, all your neighbors got lights. You sitting in the dark and it's Saturday.
Oh, goodness.
So you know you're in the dark, it's Sunday, but you know, where some guys, we make it work. I pop a light a candle, I'm good to go. Then you come home, your water's off. You're like, you gotta be kidding me. But hey, for all y'all don't know, they got a little box and you just turn it off. Your water come on, but you gotta go pay it on Monday. But little things like that. But on a serious note, though, yeah, I don't want to see any of my friends go through divorce because I feel like, and this is what I told my friend the other day because he was like, oh, I hate that. I was like, look, let me tell you something, dude.
Yeah.
You married that woman because you loved her. At some point, whenever we get divorced, at some point, we all love each other. Yeah. I'm not saying every marriage can be saved because some might be gone.
That's true.
But sometimes, like when I talk to Sadie, I can see she hates me. But then I also know she knows I'm a good person. Yeah. And it's like, you don't hate me, you just hate the things that I did or the things I said. Right. You don't hate me because you're not a hateful person. Just like I'm not a hateful person. And just like I told my buddy, you don't hate your wife. You just need to figure out how to make it better. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I just want to make sure, you know, that the tools are out there for guys to actually get the help they need. But having said that, the tools are out there, you guys still got to take the initiative to go do it.
Because it's just like going back to basics. I mean, you leave one spouse and you go back out there dating, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, same thing.
Right.
Oh, trust me, I know.
And why is that? Why is the same thing happening?
Because it's on their loop.
It's on the loop.
It's on the loop.
Unless you address the loop, you're going to keep attracting the same exact situation. Nothing
Trust
changes.
me, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to what she's telling you. You know what I mean? Same loop.
Yeah.
Starts out great. You're like, oh, this is awesome. About a month into it, you're like, oh my God, deploy me.
Deploy.
Deploy me. You can't deploy no more. All right, I gotta go. I'll take a contract job. Yeah, I'm going somewhere. I'll take a contract job. People are like, why you travel so much? That's why.
But then you spend your life just, going from relationship to relationship because you're not addressing the things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And that's for, it doesn't matter, man, woman, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You have to be able to face the things that you have running in that subconscious mind. All of the things that made you who you are, your experiences that you've had as a child, in different relationships, if this is your second marriage, all of those things, you still have to be able to address it. And it starts with you. It starts with what's inside of you first.
Right.
Because you have to face your own vulnerabilities. You have to be truthful with yourself about the things that you believe and you feel, and the things that you are afraid to express to other people.
Right.
Because that happens in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to tell him that I'm insecure about something.
Right. Oh, yeah.
If you don't, then if I can't even acknowledge it for myself, how am I going to work in my marriage and deal with my own insecurities that I have internally?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So now, before we sum this up, because I'm bringing Miss Anni back for part 2.
Yes.
We're gonna briefly hit this real quick. The life management portfolio. This should have been the first book, right?
Yes, that was supposed to be the first book.
Okay, now I want you to touch on this real quick, and then we're gonna sum this up because I'm gonna bring you back for part 2.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about this. So, what is the?
So the life management portfolio, a how-to guide for organizing your life, started because my brother had a motorcycle accident in 2002.
Yep.
And he became a quadriplegic, and the accident happened outside of New York. So the accident happened in Virginia. So he ended up in an emergency room there. My parents from North Carolina. Long story short, my mom relocated to Virginia. He was married at the time, had a 1-year-old son, but not everybody could be a caregiver.
Right.
Not everybody has the ability to do that.
Right.
So my mom pretty much picked up, moved there, got an apartment, and she stayed by his bedside for 7 years. But she was left out of the loop on everything, decisions, all types of healthcare, anything dealing with his healthcare. She was not privy to any information. She was left off of his, they call it a face sheet. And his wife, I'm not going to speak bad about her. I don't know exactly what she was going through because that wasn't my experience. But not everyone knows how to handle a situation like that. So I put this book together for the purpose of people having a blueprint for things that are going on in their life. Like how you said when you got divorced, you didn't remember to pay the light bill and all the stuff. So this documents everything that you need to know in terms of your household. You'll be able to have, like my dad, I have this workbook for my dad. I filled it out because I'm an out-of-state caregiver.
Right.
So I have to be able to have information to navigate his life, whether it be his bills, his health care, car registration, insurance, all of that. Without me documenting any of that information, I wouldn't know anything. I would be stressing myself out in New York trying to take care of him in North Carolina and not have a blueprint, or at least not have information, or have to call him and say, Dad, where's this, where's that? Oh, I don't know, I have to look for it. Let me try to look for the file cabinet. Let me dig through this drawer. Oh, I'm not really sure, maybe your mom has it. But when I can't be a caregiver out of state and not know anything.
Me and Derek got him. We got
yes.
We'll make some documents.
I know it. I can call both of y'all and say, hey, y'all go take on my dad.
We'll make some documents. Hold on, we got this. This says Johnny Gleaned on it. Hold on, let me do that.
So it just helps people be a little bit more organized and in the know, because you always have one person that knows everything about everything.
Yep.
And then what if something happens to that one person?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be left in the dark. You're not going to know anything.
Fact.
But at least this provides information for families to kind of know how to navigate. And this kind of came about because of my brother and because of my work with senior citizens, because
you started seeing it.
Yeah, I started seeing a lot because the caregivers live in other states, and they would always call me and be like, hey, Miss Johnson, do you know where my dad pays rent? Because I have to pay the rent. Something happened with his Social Security, so I would have to be the one to kind of gather all the information for them. But it's very stressful for them to not know how to do simple things. Now we have electronic billing, and you can pay bills online and all of that stuff.
But it's still just good to have a copy of it too.
Yeah, because my dad doesn't pay bills online.
Right.
He still gets the mail.
Oh yeah.
So
I know.
Yeah. So what am I gonna have to do? Come all the way down here and get the mail? But at least I have all the things documented and be able to take care of all of his expenses and whatever it is that needs to be done. I can do it without stressing out. And it's also helpful for in death situations. All the chaos that comes in when somebody passes away. And then we're like, where's the will? Did they even have a will? Oh, I found the will, but this is the old will. I know that they had a new one.
Who's the power of attorney?
All of those things. Do they have bank accounts? Oh yeah, you know, I know they have one bank account. No, but I know it was another bank. So now you have like multiple banks.
Yeah.
You probably have land somewhere. You have multiple cars. We don't even know where you want to be funeralized. We don't know any of that information. So it pretty much is gives you all the information that you need.
So I'm assuming this book started while you was doing all your social work. Like, all right, I need to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this came about because my brother had his accident, and
Gotcha.
I was very upset at watching my mom not know anything.
Yeah.
She was left out of absolutely everything. She would be sitting by his bedside.
Oh, I bet that drove her crazy too.
And he is being wheeled to the emergency room. And she's like, what is going on? Can someone tell me? No, we're not allowed to tell you anything.
That's crazy.
And
That's sad.
And my brother couldn't speak because he was a quadriplegic, so he didn't have any voice, no movement, no nothing. And she jumps in her car and she follows the ambulance just to find out what hospital he's going to. So when you are in relationships, sometimes there are family dynamics that the wife is not gelling with the family, and then when something happens, then we find ourselves in total chaos and conflict, and now no one is speaking to each other. Then somebody's left out of the loop. But it's just like, she has a reason why she left us out of the loop. I'm not really sure what the reason is, but we were left out of the loop on everything.
Right.
Yeah,
that's sad.
It's deeply, deeply painful to be in that experience, and to watch my parents be not have any, or not be consulted with any decision
over their child.
Yeah, I mean, it was his wife, but for whatever reason, she decided that we were going to be totally cut off. Now, we didn't have any conflict prior to my brother's accident.
That's crazy.
We were all family oriented, no problem. They were we're at each other's house every Sunday.
She could have been honestly not trying to cover for her, but I've seen that happen like with some of my guys. It could be because she was mad at him.
I'm not really sure.
You know what I mean? I've seen it where somebody does something stupid, like somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Or I've had guys get killed, and we were friends with the wives way before.
Yeah.
And then she don't want to talk to nobody because she blamed us.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying she blamed you guys, but it could have been like
it could have been a whole host of things that we are not even privy to. Yeah, so that's kind of how that came about.
But I'm glad we're gonna check them both out. But hey, for everybody here, you just heard it yourself from Miss Annie B over here. I'm gonna do all I can to see, even though I know you're in New York.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk to some people that I know from group and just see how hard it'd be. We should be able to hire you or contract you to come down and maybe do some work with our guys, whether it's once a month, twice a month, whatever.
Oh, wow.
Or they can do it if you wanted to Zoom. Yeah. You could do like what we're doing right now, because one, I know you're passionate about what you're doing, and I know you're helping the people that you're helping.
Yeah.
And I think, like we have counselors that help, but I think with you, having a husband in law enforcement, having a father that was prior military, having friends that are in the military,
right?
You kind of see how our dynamic is made up.
Yeah.
And you see how we think a certain way and we live a certain way.
Yes.
And I think when you bring in people that don't know that, they spend 5-10 years trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, why are these guys like this? Then all of a sudden it's like, ding, ding, ding. Oh, these guys are different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's why they're in the jobs that they do. So I think you do a lot of good. And,
Thank you.
Just being able to let our guys come forth and actually open up and talk to you. That's the first thing. And then trusting you. And then I think you can help a lot of our guys, or at least their families out. You know what I mean?
I think the relatability is very important too. When you have, when you are connecting with a therapist or counselor or coach, and I think that's what makes us a little different. Is that we share a little bit of our story to let you know that you're not in this by yourself. And we are actually walking everything. We're not just talking. We actually went through it. So as my shirt says, that we are trying to revolutionize the marriage experience. Like we're trying to shift how people do marriage, how you see marriage, and how you experience marriage.
I like 50 plus 50 equals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's
I like it. All right, well, hey everybody. Again, I can't thank Ms. Annie B. Johnson for coming on. We had a great time. And go check out this episode, but also check out her husband's episode, DJ, because we talk a little bit about, you guys and how great things are. And we talk a lot about, his childhood, and
Yeah.
you know, he's just got a great story, and I can't wait to get him back for part 2.
Oh yeah, part 2 is
I ain't gonna take nothing from you, but that's my boy. So I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it.
Listen, he's incredible. Part 2
he is.
is going to be like this book.
Yeah.
It was just to get him started.
I got you.
You know, so that second episode, I cannot wait.
Oh, I can't either. So for everybody that watches, if you haven't seen the movie Antoine Fisher, go watch it because it's based off of my boy's life. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So go watch that because he should be here hopefully in August. I'm hoping.
Hopefully, yes.
We're hoping in August. But hey, thank you guys for watching. You know,
Thank you.
Go check out the book. Buy the book, Annie B. Johnson. You can just buy it right off Amazon.
Or you can come right to the website, AnniBJohnson.com.
Hey, AnnieBJohnson.com, or go on the website, find it. It's giving my pain and voice
Yes.
a path to healing.
Much.
I like it. Annie B. Johnson. Hey, guys, go check it out. Thank you guys for tuning into the JMFG podcast. We'll be back next week with some more guests. We're going to get this thing back rolling. Sorry we took a little vacation, but hey, Johnny Glenn needed a rest, even though I didn't rest. It sounds good.
Yeah, you need a rest.
Yeah, I need a rest. But hey, I just want to let you guys know we're up and running again. We'll be seeing you guys soon. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Come in. That was too good right there. Good times. That was good.